He really just kind of sat there and watched the grown-ups play.
Okay,
Hey,
here
there
we
we
go.
go. Okay, that's how you get back in the game. And the triple be prepared.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my goodness, that
He
Jafar just came down and said, "I don't think so." Whoosh.
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to be a Disney villain? Have you ever wanted to bend your opponents to your will? Do you want to play a card that can answer any threat in Lorcana that you can imagine with no problem at all? Then, Illumineers, I've got a deck for you. Hello, my name is Joseph Quigley, also known as Pandemonium Heart, and I'm a pro player with Team Enter the Battlefield. Over the past few weeks, I've been working on a deck that I want to highlight for you today, that being Green, Blue, Clara-Bend. This is a strategy that I piloted to a top 32 finish at the Pro Play Games 10K in Texas recently, and I believe it's a very viable rogue pick in the meta and for your sec champs. Besides that, it's just a really fun and unique deck that offers so much for the time you put into it, and I believe it is extremely rewarding to play. Let's get into it. So, Green-Blue Clara-Bend is something that emerged in Set 6. Although there were builds of Green-Blue Clara-Bend that came out in Set 5, able to use the playstyle of ramping and bouncing threats, it didn't really gain a spectacular win condition until the printing of Bend to My Will in Set 6. Now, Bend to My Will gave you a solid end goal. You're going to hyper ramp with the blue cards, use the green cards to bounce a lot of stuff, then drop a Clarabelle to draw and refill your hand. Then once you've achieved this, you can Bend to My Will to hopefully cripple your opponent, potentially leaving them with little to nothing on board and in hand, and with you with a full hand of gas to grind out towards victory. Against slower decks, this was extremely powerful, and it often forced them into very difficult top decking scenarios. But although the deck had success here and there, in Set 6 it ultimately struggled too much versus Pete decks. With this deck having so much reliance on actions and muses to control the board, a Pete or two could completely negate your game plan and leave you vulnerable to getting run over and aggroed. With the popularity of decks like Amber Steel Mine Aggro in Set 6, the deck struggled to get a foothold in the meta in the past few sets. But things are a little bit different now. The deck has gotten some notable cards that make it potentially a bit more viable. And the meta is forming in a way that seems a little bit favorable to it. Both Red-Blue Shark and Red-Blue items have had a lot of high noteworthy finishes that have made them fairly popular. Red-Blue Shark, I think, particularly has become quite popular lately. Other decks like Red-Purple and Blurple have both maintained a pretty high amount of popularity as well, which are all decks that this one fares quite well against. Purple Steel has probably been never less popular than it has at this moment, at least compared to the past couple of sets. And that's traditionally a very difficult matchup. And Discard, particularly Green Steel, has also declined in popularity overall, leaving the door more open for a deck like this. The deck's noteworthy buffs have also managed to counter a lot of weaknesses for the decks. Pop plus Bell gives you a much better ability to contest board early on, helping you a lot against aggressive strategies and helping you gain tempo into the mid game as you play your songs. Basil was also just printed in Set 8 and was a absolutely perfect card for this deck, being a massive bruiser with the bounce that contributes to the game's central game plan, and giving you a needed discard outlet for getting rid of those pesky last couple of cards that they might keep in their hand after you go Bend to My Will. The deck now has many more tools to play around and through Pete's, and that gives it a much more solid foundation to try to be viable in the metagame. Now, this resulted in quite a few big tops this set, which inspired me to give the deck another look. On the left, you'll see Fungus's build that he piloted to top 8 performance at the CCS 2K in June. Bartsaw's piloted Central deck to a top 4 finish at the Big Lorcana Quest Tour, and on the right you'll have the Edward Vivas piloted list, who got a top 8 finish at a 4K Enchanted event. These finishes highlighted to me that the deck could be in a position to counter the meta, and in my testing, I soon realized that it had the ability to compete. This was the version of the deck I piloted to my 20th place finish in the PvP 10K. Leaning more on cards like Strike a Good Match, I tried the deck to try to fight aggro better, also adding in Under the Sea that could hopefully gain me a few points in the Amber Steel matchup. The Bell foregrip was my tool to try to ensure I could really always beat the red decks I was targeting, and she definitely paid off on the weekend. I would say that Bell could easily be replaced by Donald if you're expecting a bit more discard in your local metagame, and I've been playing Donald lately to hedge against discard, but I didn't expect much discard at PPG, and sure enough, I only played it once in 18 rounds of play over the 2 days. This deck unfortunately faltered a bit on day 2 for me after a hot 5-0 start, but I left the weekend feeling pretty good about its place in the metagame, given the right mix of decks that you are facing. So why can this deck win you a set champ? This deck has fantastic game into red-blue and either version of red-blue, and feels pretty even across the board against a lot of other top contenders. Notably against Amber Steel, I do think that if you are attacked correctly, you can be even or slightly ahead to both Amber Steel variants. I would say Wheel's a bit better for you than Aggro is, but both are quite manageable if you are attacked correctly. As well, this deck can definitely catch people off guard, and they may not be ready to know quite their optimal lines or optimal mulls against you, and it's definitely something that you can exploit at the set champ level. I will say that you have to be wary of discard. You do have lines versus it, and you can absolutely get there against discard if you can stick a Clara-Bend, and that can kind of flip the matchup on its head. But I would not bring the deck to your meta if it has a ton of discard. But otherwise, I think it's a very solid pick right now, and one you can have a ton of fun with. But I wouldn't end this off without giving you a proper demonstration of what this deck is capable of. So I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to highlight the match that I played versus Zach Bivens piloting Red Blue Shark over in the Illuminator Champions League semifinal, which I played against him last week. Let's take a look. Back here with my match video against Zach Bivens in the semifinals of the Illuminator Champions League, with my team enter the battlefield taking on his team, the Villain Club. Now, I'm on green-blue, of course, while he played red-blue shark, and I think this match is a fairly good demonstration of why green-blue can get a really good edge into opposing red-blue decks, and what kind of makes the matchup tricky for red-blue, as well as just a good general demonstration of this deck's game plan and how it kind of functions. There's a lot of really big moments in this one, so let's get into it. So I start off by inking a Basil. I don't love doing that in this matchup. Basil is like really strong into Red Blue Shark in particular, but I guess is what it is. I will note that I had a 1-drop Clara-Bend in hand at the time that I could have developed, but I was still blind as far as what he was playing, and I was worried he might be playing discard, and in the event he was playing discard, developing Clara-Bend would have been a very questionable idea. He is an okay card to develop in the blind on a baseline of the matchup, but we kind of thought he might be either red, blue, or discard, so it was, if it was a 50-50 call, I'm not risking developing a Clara-Bend there. We do find out, based on those cards, that he is on red, blue, shark, at which point I can guess my game plan accordingly to, of course, go for a turbo Clara-Bend play, which is often what you want to go for, regardless of anything. But it at least shows that I have some room to operate, so to speak. So we're going to ink the bell, play at the TPO. We often like developing TPO over sail on the play especially, but also on the draw, I guess because we often want to empty our hand fast. There's some variety in there, of course, but we'll do it. And fine inking bell. She's okay in this matchup, gets to the manner, but like not the be-all, end-all like she is into the aggressive steel decks. The other reason why Tipo is a rather nice card is because he can strike a good match. So at this point, I don't have a 4-drop, if I recall correctly, so I'm just trying to dig for something good to play on this turn, or at least an option in case I want to. I discarded Donald here. I believe I have a second one in hand, so I don't need a second. And I am just going to first start cycling. I didn't actually find a 4-drop, if I recall correctly, but I'm going to choose, I know I have the shift line here, so I'm going to choose to develop the Clara-Bend, I guess just run the shift line. Now, I am sloppy in this moment. I could have inked first and then popped 2 to pop his popsicle, so we can't have it for healing. That's just some sloppy play. Keep that in mind. So I developed this to start in the shift line. It is worth noting that against Red Blue Shark in particular, they are outright trimming brawls, or sometimes not even running brawl. Definitely in lower number. I don't think there's a single build out there that's running 4 copies of it. So as a result, if you like play small Clara-Bend, you have a fairly good shot of her just sticking on board. Even in a worst case scenario that like he brawls it or whatever, that's at least a very slow turn from him, and that we can exploit that. In that worst case, I have another Donald in hand to go with the Clara-Bend, so I'll be able to get Clara-Bend on turn 5, if not turn 4 being next turn. We do see Bivens not have Brawl. Goes for a Goofy, which is pretty ideal for us. It's slow, it's annoying like Manner, or not as annoying as like a Manner play, or a How Far I'll Go, which lets them ramp faster into a B prep turn. So this is pretty ideal for us, honestly, as far as how this goes. So we do indeed have the ship Clara-Bend, ink our Donald Duck that we had ready in case, but we can just go for this. Sing You're Welcome, and get to draw a whole bunch of cards. Now, I will say that in a more ideal world, you don't have to tap your Clara-Bend on this turn against a red deck, because there's a risk of them having Maui and just basically getting rid of her quickly, whereas we want to keep her on board for longer if we can. If she gets to live a full turn, then you can like ramp and draw more cards and be in a really strong position against red-blue decks. But we did see him ink a couple Maui, so it's a little bit less likely that he's to have that at the very least in this case. In any case, thanks to the line of Hyper Ramp into You're Welcome, we get to draw, I believe it was 5 or 6 cards, refill our hand, and be in an excellent position ahead in both ink, of course, but on board with a hand ready to go. At this point, we are looking to do a second Clara-Bend turn of ramping and then drawing a bunch, emptying out our hand best we can. We do see Bivens go for a hard cast, How Far I'll Go. He's just trying to get to 7 ink, which is where the Clara-Bend answers are, whether those be B prep, which is often what they will do as soon as you Clara-Bend, or a Hades, which is 1 or 2 of in this deck these days, and can be very annoying for us, to be sure. Now, in this moment, I'm going to show off the Spice I was running today, which is a very reasonable tech choice depending on your local meta, that being the Ursula 2-drop. And this is exactly the spot of why you want Ursula possibly in your deck. You have a Clara-Bend on board, you know they're about to B-prep you, and you just want to send that B-prep before they can get it. Now, unfortunately, he reveals 2 B-preps, so I don't have that luxury of, guess being able to protect my Clara-Bend from anything. We are going to take 1, of course, just reduce the number in hand and not have to, he only has 1 B prep ready to go instead of 2. At this point, I'm just preparing to turbo ramp to try to draw a bunch of cards. I have a Tipo in hand here. I ink the Tala. I sing How Far I'll Go at this point. I debate questing, but it's better to just get to sing, get the ink, get the value, prepare for the long game and what happens after the B prep comes down. Now, after the How Far I'll Go, I remember, I do happen to find a second Ursula, and that allows me to get rid of the second B prep and call it a day. That was quite fortuitous, where, now he's down in B preps, now my Clara-Bend has no threat. and Clara-Bend can just keep drawing cards. Now, the downside of the line I take here is I only get to draw one card. I ripped 2 cards from his hand. I've only ramped partially. I did have the alternative of, instead of going for the second Ursula, I could have T-Po'd, inked an extra card, and then if I had to discard in his hand, I would have gone to draw 3 cards, whereas at the end of turn here, I'm only going to get to draw 1 card. I was willing to do that because he had no answer for Clara-Bend otherwise, like potentially Clara-Bend on a future turn. His hand was mostly big cards, so he wouldn't be able to empty his hand out very quickly. So I felt pretty secure in that moment of risking taking it to second B prep and just calling it a day, as opposed to greeting for more card draw. But unfortunately, what happens here is kind of basically a worst case scenario for me as far as how he could respond from a strong turn for me. He's going to, I think he's really thinking on his ink here, but he's going to Ink of Visions and then drop down this Hades to take care of my Clara-Bend. Which really sucks. Now, it does get me a couple ink, which is really nice, but it leaves me in an awkward position where I've lost my big threat, and he doesn't mind threat. If I saw the Hades in his hand, I definitely would have gone for a Tipo play on the last turn instead of the second Ursula. Probably still hold on to that second Ursula, get Srippy Pep later if I need to, but I would have gone for the extra card draw instead. And then, let him answer as he would to my board. He probably would have still Hades over B prep just because it represents a much better tempo. But it puts me in an awkward spot because you can't really bounce a Hades unless you have the bend ready to go. Now, this does give me some ink to work with. I forget if I had a bend from the start or if I found off this Tala after, digging some more. But this turn, the ink I get off of the Hades ramp does allow me to play both Tala, and then we can ink and play a 7-drop, and that 7-drop is going to be the bend, which is basically what you want to do. As far in this matchup and in most slow matchups, you are just looking to hit the bend to my will. You draw off Clara-Bend, then hit bend to my will, and leave them. All he has now is a Hades on board, while I have a full grip of cards and a board that at least contests the Hades okay. I do choose to quest both Ursulas here. It does get eaten by Hades for free, so I don't know if that was necessarily the correct play. But I hope to get like 1 free lore in, and I need to start questing. The downside of this deck that we're going to see over the next couple of turns, and the difficulty of this matchup, is that their cards are going to be better than your cards on a 1-to-1 basis. They can top deck extremely well, whereas you have a lot less. You have fewer threatening bodies than they do. So you have to really leverage your ability to have more cards in hand that they do in this sort of kind of game. Like I have 5 cards in hand to 0, basically. And I'm just looking to leverage that. So at this point, I'm just looking to find cards that fight on board, as well as continue to draw and cycle. Tal is really nice in these late game positions where you just want a good start on the board while keeping up your hand size. We are going to develop a Clara-Bend that can just be a big body that can deal with this Hades, which is exactly what we need right now. And then take out that Goofy cleanly, thanks to the Popsicle healing us up. And we're in good position at this point. 4 cards in hand, a good way to deal with this Hades. He does have a Tala off the top, which is pretty good for him. And that Tala is going to find something pretty good here that we will see shortly. He is just going to rip the 3rd B prep, which is what it is. You expect it to happen in this matchup, and you have to be worried about hedging for B prep coming down and being ready to redevelop best you can, if they top deck it as it goes, because it's going to happen, especially if you're not lucky enough to snipe B preps off your first bend to my will. This is what makes this matchup a bit challenging, where you are dealing with bombs at the top against them, and you just have to try to line up answers as best you can and not overcommit into a B prep. So we are just going to start cycling, looking for cards we can develop cleanly. We do have a How Far Go. Again, I believe we won't have any characters in our hand at this point, so we're just trying to find good cards that can be good bodies. And we do find one, if I recall correctly. I ink again for Tipo. I am making a lot here, but there is going to be a reason for that you will see. We play a Clara-Bend, a very solid body, only answered by Hades or a dragon off the top, and he cannot currently dragon, and we've seen one Hades. He does, unfortunately, rip the Tamatoa. The bright side is Clara-Bend can kind of play around that card, but that is a pretty rough draw for us. However, we have actually set ourselves up in a way to deal with this particular card that you will see shortly. So we draw for turn, don't find anything of note, but we're just going to go for a very big play here and illustrate the power of Basil. Bounce the crab, and then we can ink and play, I believe, well, you'll see. We're going to ink a sail here. I think I had Muses in hand, and I probably should have inked that instead, but on the other hand, I'm looking for characters. But we're going to bend off of after the Basil, give him no cards in hand, and just have two questers on board while he's back to top decking. Basil is really strong in late game scenarios, and you do kind of want to develop him first. This is a very greedy, expensive play, but I think it's worthwhile enough specifically because it develops Basil, and when you have Basil on board, they can't hold that one card in hand, or Basil means that they are forced to play or ink stuff, or Basil can get value discarding, and that has a lot of power in these late game situations against bomb decks like Red-Blue, where they can't necessarily just hold their bombs back. They have to commit them, and Basil is just amazing in these spots. Now, unfortunately, he rips another Tamatoa right at the top after a bend. Absolutely insane top deck there, and puts me in a bit of a bind because I don't really have a another bend to go. I've gone through two of them. I do have Tremaine, and the bright side of getting to this much ink, the 13 is my top deck Tremaine. I can go Tremaine straight into a bend, but unfortunately, we do not have access to that. I should say, on the previous turn, we did have the option to just go for leave Clara-Bend on board and draw two. And that may have been reasonable, but I don't tend to want to play around with Red-Blue in that way, especially Red-Blue Shark. They have a lot of bombs, they have a lot of answers that are hard to deal with, and I just don't tend to want to have them have cards. So I prefer to, if I've gotten a big Clara-Bend turn already, I will tend to bend fairly aggressively if it means that they are cleared of threats and resources. It was just unfortunate they top deck Tamatoa immediately there, and that puts me in a tough position. However, we can exploit this Tamatoa a little bit. We are going to have to play out our hand, but we know that he does not have he only has one B-prep left in deck. I do debate here, so on the turn I'm going to draw one off Clara-Bend, or two. I can quest the Basil, and I'll only get to draw one. I debate whether I should go for two, but ultimately I decide to quest Basil to do it because the two lore is worthwhile enough in a mech like this. Basil's effect is mandatory, so I didn't have a choice here. I had to go for it as it goes. Now, we are pretty lucky on this one. He has two cards. One is a Popsicle, the other one is a Shark. And I think he specifically didn't ink on the previous turn, so we could try to protect the Shark in hand to develop it on the next turn. Luckily, we were still able to snipe it, which was definitely fortuitous for us, of course. So now we're in a very strong position. He only has two cards in hand still. We've got a very full board. We know he's not likely to have B-Prep or draw B-Prep. I don't believe he draws it here. He does go digging for it. And B-Prep is the only clean answer here. Big Sisu would do very little. I forget exactly what he draws in this spot. Still has two cards in hand. Goes for another Popsicle, digging for that B-Prep. But I'm just really hoping that I can quest with this board, get to a good threat range where I can weather through a B-Prep potentially. And fortunately, he just goes for Hardcast How Far Ago, which means he's not doing much this turn. He takes out the Basil, unsurprisingly, because it's just going to keep questing and getting too much value. But it leaves us in good position. We get to quest with the board and be solid. Unfortunately, I don't have another bend to go here. I don't draw a Tremaine, which would have been really powerful. So I just had to kind of go for it. He does keep two cards in hand, which we can exploit with Clara-Bend. I'm going to start cycling and digging for better cards. I tap with Muses first, just in case I want to bounce the Muses for whatever reason. I also, that's a half lump, so let's say you just draw a card. It does not force you to target your own characters. That card is opposing characters only, so I'm not blocking anything from my board from questing. We're going to continue to dig. We're not going to bounce off of the Muses immediately. We just decide to keep her on board in case we find something at the top that went to play, like a Tremaine. We just choose to develop a Bell and a small Clara-Bell, probably a Popsicle this time, not forgetting. It commits to B prep, but at this point, I'd rather guess cycle for better cards than a small Clara-Bell and a Bell, and I guess hoping to draw some bombs at the top. So we're in up to 14 lore. We're feeling pretty good. He is going to sail, and then he is going to, I believe, have to ink, but find his last B prep. That's certainly unfortunate, getting through all 4 B preps, but it is what it is. I've been throughout the entirety of this match basically searching for exactly this card, Manor, so I can prepare for before or after B prep and not be too committed. I got the Bell alongside it. The last card in my hand, I remember, was Under the Sea, so my hand was like pretty bad. Under the Sea does nothing in this matchup, and I was hoping to draw strikes to get rid of it. But the Manor at least puts me in a good position where a lot of top decks can answer his top decks, and as long as I preserve the Manor, I'm in good shape. He's already inked 2 Mauis. Regular Maui, the Rush Maui, I know. So he's not as likely to find it or have it. He probably has deselected some Mauis over the course of the game. And sure enough, he does scoop there. So that's kind of the deck in action, where you're just looking for a big Clara-Bell into a big Bend to My Will. And you're looking to, after that, just maintain a hand and try to plan out with good answers for whatever the red-blue player might play off the top. In that case, I was able to navigate well to a Basil plus Bend play that I was able to essentially secure me the game, ensure that I had answers for whatever he threw out, and luckily his top decks after that point, past the Tamatoa, I guess, weren't too bad, and I was able to get over the finish line. There are also times where you might sometimes struggle off the red-blue top decks. I was lucky to get those 2 B preps in your early game, and that makes a huge difference for the rest of the game when they don't have access to guys finding those cards. But the ability to find B prep is part of why Manor is a very nice tech, I think, in this meta, specifically for this matchup, because it can sometimes be tough to finish out the game if you don't have a closer card like that. So going into game 2, we know exactly what we're dealing with. We are going to be on the draw this game, and we are still going to be looking for just a turbo Clara-Bell as fast as possible into a Bend, into a win. We can't keep Bend in our opening mill, of course. That'd be way too greedy. But we just hope to draw into it off of a big Clara-Bell draw, and then maybe search for it after. So this is a very interesting game as far as how it develops. One thing that Red Blue Shark players will tend to do if they know what they're doing against you is, number 1, try to empty out their hand, but number 2, the lines that they like going for against us are exactly ramp with how far I'll go, into Manor, into B prep. And the reason they do that is because they should know that developing a shark is very risky and unlikely to stick, because we run, Basils, we run Medicina's Best along with You're Welcome. So that leaves us with like 10 answers to a shark that just completely invalidate it. Whereas for Manor, our bodies aren't so big that they can like easily deal with the Manor oftentimes. And it basically going for an early Manor versus a shark narrows our answers, where it forces us to have the You're Welcome ready to go. Whereas if it's a shark that they're going for instead, we have like more outs to it basically, and that's kind of why the ramp Manor prep line is good. I full keep though, because my hand is basically perfect, where I have double ramp into Clara-Bell, and I believe I have You're Welcome in there as well, which I want to have early in case he goes for that Manor line. He starts off with a Popsicle, which is obviously ideal for him. He wants to get Popsicles in rotation if you're the red-blue player. It's very important for them in a way that it is not for us, because we don't tend to run Tamatoa. It's more of an optional tech choice for our deck as opposed to a very important draw engine in their deck. So they need to have those in rotation. He goes for a Sail instead of a Tipo, which we like to see because it means he has more cards in hand, and that tends to be a bit better for us. Good red blue players, well, I should say that red blue players will often try to empty out their hand best they can against us, but it can be tough depending on what their hand is. We're going for a Tipo because we are also looking to empty out our hand as best we can, and Tipo's a lot better at that than Sail. I also have a Strike in hand. I don't end up using it, but I do have access to it, so I'm able to consider singing it off the Tipo. And sure enough, not unexpectedly, I believe this is the turn where he is just going to ink and slam down a manor. It's not as bad as probably how Fargo would be in this spot, but it is pretty good because, again, it's basically saying like I am forcing you to have your welcome. You may not have kept it. Even though I had a full keep, there's a chance that I wouldn't keep your welcome because I guess having a stable shift line with ink is something that you can do. But I am just trying to I ensure that I have an out for this particular line. So I do develop a Muses mostly just to have a singer. She's pretty bad in this matchup, but she is, a stable singer that they can't deal with. I choose not to swing. I choose not to tap the across the T-po either. I have your welcome way to go for the thing, but I just don't want to get goofied. Is kind of what I decide to do here. I probably could have at least crossed the T-po. That may have been a bit more optimal. And say if you want to goofy me, I'm okay with that. Hindsight 2020, it's minor, but it is worth considering. It's probably worth questing just because if you're kind of happy in this spot if they goofy you because you can just bounce it with Muses. Let's go for a sail into a Tala, which is a very strong line for him. All things considered, this line of play from Bivens was very strong. He only has 3 cards in hand, which isn't too bad. It's not ideal for against us, but it's reasonable. And because he's gone for a double sail line, he's gotten up to 6 ink. So now he threatens me with B prep or a shark or what have you, or a Hades if I develop my Clara-Bend. He's got a body on board and he's got a manor. So this is a lot to deal with. It is pretty close to ideal from the red-blue player's perspective. But luckily, my hand is also very strong, and I am going to put that on display. So we have our secondary source of ramp, the how far go that'll let us get to Clara-Bend on the next turn. That's very important. I choose not to bounce the Muses here, simply because I'd rather have the board presence. And she's not directly threatened. She could get taken out by a Goofy or a Maui, but I'm kind of okay with that. Then I'm just going to hard cast your welcome to deal with that manner. And the reason I do this is because I have a second your welcome in my hand ready to go. So I don't feel too bad about just doing that kind of development. It would have been better maybe to develop a 4-drop here as opposed to your welcoming. However, they often have B-prep ready to go, and it would kind of suck to develop a 4-drop, get B-prepped, his manner is fine, and then they have to wait playing Clara-Bend versus playing your welcome. It would have been awkward if I didn't your welcome at this moment. We are fortunately going to see he develops a shark over something scary. He isn't able to take out the Muses space, which is really great for us because now she can sing the thing you're welcome. He does sing How Fargo, which is very nice for him, very not great for me because he gets to ramp a bit more, which gives him more flexibility in the late game. But it is what it is. I didn't quest with T-Bone the last turn. I guess, into a Tala, no point. I could have considered it, and I didn't bounce him to hand last turn either because I want to keep my hand empty. So he is just really cycling through his deck now. We don't exactly know what his hand is like. He did have to force eat a couple of cards from my You're Welcome, which hopefully will do good things for me. And I'm going to do it again. I have a very insane line this game, getting to double You're Welcome him, and that is going to pay off big time. I'm going to get rid of that shark, which is no problem. He's going to have to shuffle it in and then draw 2, and he will be up to 6 cards. I have fed him 4 of those cards to make sure he has a healthy hand to get exploited by Clara-Bend, which it made it hard for him to play around, basically. He would have had 2 cards if I didn't have double You're Welcome. So I'm able to send him to Clara-Bend. I only have 1 card in hand at this point, so I'm going to just draw up 5 cards, which is what we want to be doing, and we are feeling great about our board position. I believe the last card in hand may have been a bend as well, so I know that already. If he preps me, I'm just going to slam the bend and be very happy. And I know as well that he can't really deal with Muses, so if he develops a Goofy or a Shark, it's very slow for him, and I'm in good position. I'm just waiting through my turn as he is, and I believe he goes for the Hades here. It's better tempo than going for a B prep. Hades is an annoying body that we don't really want to bounce unless we're bending on that turn, because then whatever else we develop is just going to get Hades again. Hades is actually one of the toughest cards for us to deal with in a lot of ways, because it enters our Clara-Bend so cleanly and then is a very nuisance of a body afterwards that we can't just deal with bouncing. Like, you can't Basil Hades, because then they just Hades your Basil, and you've lost. So we're going to go for a bit of cycle. We do have that room, thanks to the inking the Clara-Bend. I guess put that on the marker there. I don't have any bounce for this Hades, unfortunately, which is a little unfortunate because we would like the option. But we are just going to, and essentially what we're digging for here specifically is exactly Must Knows Best or the third You're Welcome, just so we can deal with this Hades because we do have a bend coming down. So we don't have that luxury. We're going to strike. Then we're going to discard a card. I forget what it is exactly, like a sale or something. I am going to choose to bounce this Tipo. There is an argument for keeping it on board because it helps us contest the Tala, but he has Popsicle ready to go, so I don't see a big reason for it. And I also have a Bell, so it's kind of like, I don't need a Tipo that badly. We are going to bend him, and we're going to reveal 1, 2, 3 Be Prepared. I did not expect that. I have to imagine at least one of them was probably off of one of the 2 You're Welcomes that were played. He wouldn't want to have that many Be Preps in hand at once with all the cycling. But that just gives us a complete green light in this match. Like, that is more or less the game, unless he has some very miracle plays, because they really rely on Be Prepared to be able to contest us in the late game and when they're top decking, like they are now. I am also developed a Bell here, which is really nice because it contests the Tala and it gives us some good board presence to deal with his board. If I top deck a Cricky, that deals with Hades really well. It's just good to have that option in these scenarios to fight board. We do see him develop a Shark, but I will say over the course of these past few turns, we've developed a plan for that Shark, and we're going to see it executed. So we do have to respect the Shark. It is going to get a lot of lore value needs, up to 9 lore, or 8 lore rather, already. I'm going to Sing How Far I'll Go, start digging for more answers to things. It is obviously a risk if I just leave it exposed to a Shark, and I wouldn't do this if I didn't know I had an out. But I could always bounce some uses in a spot where I don't have an out to the Shark. But thankfully I do. We're just going to develop the Basil, get rid of that Shark, deal with the Tau so my muses do not immediately get threatened by this Hades and can stick around on board and hopefully be a bit of a nuisance. And then we just pass here, I believe. At this point, I have assembled a hand that should be able to win, but I'm basically executing a plan over a few turns to deal with what he's got. I can muses here and pass. I will note that I could have reset the muses. This is a bit of a misplay on my part. I had enough ink to potentially reset her, and I probably should have done so. That way she wouldn't necessarily die to a Maui, which could be a nuisance. A regular Maui, the Rush Maui. Luckily, he's just developing Shark and then getting lore off of a Vision, which we're pretty okay with. The upside, again, is here's where Basil's illustrating his power. He can search for a card off that Vision, but I can just rip it out of his hand if he chooses to keep it. And off of a Vision, I am probably going to rip a card out of his hand because it's probably going to be a good card if I let him keep that, which is why he's just going to ink it. I assumed he just took the worst card that he could see and ink it in that case, but gets the lure off of Shark, which is important for him to keep marching towards victory. So we have assembled an answer to this board state. We start cycling some more, but we know exactly what we're doing. More or less. Just waiting for the play. We're going to take out the Hades first. We need to get rid of that card, and we don't have any bounces to make that very easy. Or rather, we have bounces, but we want to use them for the Shark, which we are going to do here. Now, I will note that on this turn, I could have potentially gone for something like Basil, bounce, Shark, and then discard, and then quest and discard with my Basil. That probably would have been fairly valid, where he is, it gets rid of the Shark permanently. I can still trade with the Hades on a future turn. But the reason I don't really want to do that is because he's at 11 lore already. If the Hades quest is up to 13, at that point, burn with something like Shark plus action, if I can't answer a Shark, or I guess Pirate's Life, or Manners, potentially. Basically, I'm just kind of reducing my risk factor and getting rid of the Hades early, and I feel comfortable doing this because I know I have an answer for Shark regardless. We are going to heal both of the Muses and the Basil to play around Goofy specifically, because Goofy has 2 attack, and we want to make sure that our characters all have above 2 attack. We are just going to choose to develop here. I don't feel the need to hold back because I need to start questing because I'm at 0 lore. But we've seen 3B prep, so we know he only has 1 left, so we can be a bit greedier as far as not playing around it. He does develop a Shark, unsurprisingly, and his top deck was indeed a Goofy. Our play around paid off in a big way. Losing Muses or Basil here would have been a bit unfortunate. So at this point, we can go on to the plan we have set up for a few turns. We managed to find all 3 copies of our Basil we were playing this day over the course of a few turns. And this is the power of Basil and why he is so good in that matchup. Instantly getting rid of that Shark thanks to the second Basil we have on board already. This Basil can just take out the Goofy and call it a day. I'm going to, I believe, heal one of these Basils if I recall it correctly. I choose to develop Bell again because I just want to quest, and I know he only has 1 B prep. I should have probably healed the Basil with 2 damage on it. I know he doesn't have any Goofies left, so it felt kind of fine. I choose to keep Muses up in case he draws a Maui because I have a Tremaine in hand, and I want to start looping with Tremaine to accrue value so that I don't lose to a B prep. I am obligated to deal with this manner since he's already on 13 lore. I can't really take that risk. 2, 4, 6. I could have maybe arguably tried to quest for a 2-turn clock, which I would have had the ability to get to with 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 lore up to 11. I could have 2-turn clocked him if I leave the manor up. But I feel like I'm ahead enough that I don't need to do that. It's a debate. It's debatable, I will say. In any case, I'm going to have this Tremaine guest cycle You're Welcome. I can recycle my Popsicle to draw 2. I believe that's why I didn't heal on the previous turn. Guess I would have that option. And it is a very solid option. It's kind of like a mini draw engine that turns You're Welcome into a Friends, basically. I'm going to rebalance my Tremaine. I'm not 2-turning and lethal him, so no reason to keep it around and I'll guess protect instead. Quest for a bunch. I'll keep Muses up again, guess to go Tremaine next turn. I feel pretty okay here. I will ink 1 more time, guess to give me some more flexibility. It lets me go, getting to start to ink again lets you go Tremaine into Bend immediately, which is pretty nice. He does find a Power Stuff, which is a very scary card, and I believe it would have kept me off a 2-turn clock if I had gone for that line of kind of 2-turn lethal him. Although it's kind of debatable whether or not it was worth odd 2. I'd argue that this is a safer line because there's a lot of top decks that do with my board besides just CB prep. Like he could go find like a Maui, he could find a Pirate's Life. So it's kind of fair enough to play it a bit safer. It's debatable, but I think it was better to go for a safe line rather than just trying to rush down lethal. This way we keep control. We're going to cycle through Tremaine again, get some more value. This time I'll go for Half Fargo because I don't really feel like cycling my characters and cycling like a bad character into the deck. We'll just get some more ink. Bounce back to Tremaine. This ensures that if he finds the B prep, I will have a very full hand ready to go. And at this point, he is just going to, I believe, scoop when he doesn't find the B prep because there's no other outs that he has in his deck. I don't know exactly what he found, but that is the scoop. So that was the match. I think it's a very good demonstration of what this deck can do into red-blue. Basil is such a house into this particular deck, and if you want to try to deal with the rising tide of sharks, then I think this is a very good, solid choice that you can consider. And it's very reasonable to Amber Steel as well. Shout-outs. I'm going to give a special shout-out to Squirtle and Coffin. I didn't mention it in the earlier part of this video, but they were big innovators and pushers of this deck in set 6 that were kind of carrying this deck forward. Also, I'll shout out the Freeman Mountain as well, who had some players bring it to Continental Side events and a Revival event and do pretty well with the deck at that time as well. That really helped get this deck on the map in set 6. It still didn't really penetrate the meta at that time. It wasn't quite consistent enough, but it could potentially exploit the very heavy red-blue of that weekend if you could dodge decks like Purple Steel. Beyond that, I'll give a shout out to my team Enter the Battlefield and my great sponsors, Endgame TCG and Twin Moon Studios, that are great supporters of me. And if you're looking for more on this deck and how to play it, you can find my Metafy guide in the description. I do also offer coaching if you want to go more one-on-one as well. I think it's going to be a fine deck for set champs and is really enjoyable and something that is fun to experience before rotation. It's a very unique deck that is unlike anything else, I think, in Lorcana, more or less. That's all. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Take care and see you on the next one.